I don't know how this is fair. This Lakers team has absolutely been amazing. 14-7 since the trade deadline. And that is with LeBron missing about 15 of those games, D'Angelo Russell missing 8 of those games. And this team is still number 1 defensively around that time and top 10 in net rating. And since LeBron's been back, he's been a little bit rusty and hasn't been his complete self. And I think that's part of him just seeing what they really do need from him, letting guys get acclimated before he asserts himself on this team right now. And I think that's perfectly fine. He did the same thing around the bubble time, where in those 8 games before the playoffs, he kind of was taking a back seat and really letting guys get in a rhythm before he decided he was going to start taking over. But right now, with a fully engaged LeBron, I do think even though the Lakers are middle of the pack offensive team right now in that span of time, they can definitely propel themselves up to about top 10 in that category. With a top 10 offense and a definitely top 5 defense, this team is going to be hell for anybody they play. Right now, they're the 8th seed. But playing Houston and their last couple games really not being anything crazy, especially with them playing teams that are sitting guys because they're tanking, like the Jazz. Safe to say that this Laker team definitely may get out the play-in. And I just gotta say, if they play any of those top 3 teams, it's going to be hell for either Denver, Memphis, or Sacramento. They provide so many matchup problems for all of those teams. And simply right now, a fully engaged LeBron with some of the shooters on this roster is honestly kind of unfair. But as of right now, Anthony Davis is playing at a all-NBA level. D'Angelo Russell has been a revelation on this team right now. In that span of time he's been here, averaging 18 on some really good shooting splits. Austin Reaves has been absolutely electric. I know Lakers fans like to complain about Dennis Schroeder, but he's been way more of a positive than a negative. They've been in Malik Beasley's DMs and comments, even though he's shooting around 36% from 3, which is normally where he shoots. He's not really, he's a high volume guy, but you're not going to really get 40% from him a lot of those times. And you have Jared Vanderbilt being amazing as a defender hustle guy for this team. Thinking Basketball did an amazing video comparing him to Dennis Rodman. I think a lot of people should go check out. But then you also guys like Troy Brown Jr. that's shooting 39% from 3 in that span of time. You have guys like Winnie and Gabriel that's come on and been an amazing hustle guy for around AD. Been really good with his verticality in the past couple games. But overall, this team is really checks off all the boxes of what you need to be a championship roster. And they could definitely be a contender going to these NBA playoffs. So let's talk about how. To start out talking about why the Lakers are this good, you got to talk about Anthony Davis, who in this span of time is averaging 26 points per game, 13 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and 2.1 blocks. And what I love about last game against the Minnesota Timberwolves is even though he went down with that ankle injury, you didn't see him get out of the game. You didn't see him do anything that would constitute as him kind of, laying down. It's like 2020 when LeBron said that the main difference he saw in AD is the fact that whenever he did go down and he went back in the locker room, he always came back. He would never stay back there. He showed that he wanted to win. And right now he's showing that he wants to win. And the way he's playing right now is exactly how this Lakers team needs him to play for them to be contenders. Being a lockdown defender around the paint, being able to switch onto guards, and overall dominating in the paint and dominating as a mid-range shooter. Stop taking so many threes and just be an amazing force inside the arc. And he's been doing exactly that. And then you talk about D'Angelo Russell, who's missed about 8 games in that span of time, but in the games he has played, they're 9-4, and he's averaging 18 points per game on 48% shooting and 39% from 3 with 16.5 assists. And he hasn't even been turning the ball over that much. And having a point guard on this team that can shoot and doesn't really make crazy bad decisions, no shot at Russ, but he is a high reward or a high risk guy when you put the ball in his hands. And right now, D'Angelo Russell is kind of the guy that you need right now that helps settle this team down, is a great catch and shooter. And when you do need him to, he's been a pretty good pick and roll partner for Anthony Davis or even LeBron. So right now, having a point guard that not necessarily needs the ball in his hands all the time to be effective is great for this team. But then you go down to guys like Austin Reaves that recently got himself in the starting lineup and has been absolutely electric. The fact that he's averaging 6 free throws a game, which is more than LeBron, is insane to me. But 15.6 points per game, 5 assists, 3.1 rebounds, along on 56% shooting from the field and 41% from 3 and 83% from the line. He is having a awesome time on this Laker team right now, and he is playing himself into a nice contract next season. But he has been a great settler for this Laker offense, being a great catch and shooter. When you put the ball in his hands and give him a pick and roll with Anthony Davis, he's been amazing. And he's also been a great screen setter for LeBron and been great in that either pop or roll type of guy for this team. He makes great decisions, and he's an A1 foul baiter. There's nothing much you can say about that other than the fact that he's an A1 foul baiter. But he's been great for this roster around that time too. That's helped propel them to this record in this amount of time. And then the guy that I think has had probably the largest impact on why this team is winning so much is Jared Vanderbilt. Again, a guy that you don't see his effect in the numbers out per se. 7.6 points, 7.3 rebounds. The defensive numbers has been pretty good, 1.3 steals, but it's the hustle and the absolute havoc he wreaks on any perimeter guy. He held Anthony Edwards the other night to 416, and I know Anthony Edwards has been pretty, was pretty sick in that night. The entire Minnesota Timberwolves team was probably under the weather, but still, being able to hold somebody to 416 shooting is nothing to scoff at. You have that game where he gave Luka hell, and basically any perimeter guy, that game where he gave Brandon Ingram absolute fits. He just gives perimeter guys absolute hell. And then when you get in the playoffs and you're playing guys, probably he's going to be the guy guarding somebody like Michael Porter Jr. if they play the Nuggets, or he'd be the guy that you probably stick on to De'Aaron Fox. He's just been very, very good as a defender and as a hustle guy. I think Thinking Basketball did a great video comparing him to Dennis Rodman and their effect on their team. He's not the rebounder that Dennis Rodman was, obviously, but defensively, he is that lockdown. And not to mention, he's been able to hit some corner threes here and there. 30% isn't anything to scoff at. Is something to scoff at, but he's been able to hit some here and there, so you can't really say too much. And he still provides some great diving cuts, and he's a pretty underrated passer in a sense. So he's been pretty good for this roster overall. You can't really complain about his lack of scoring when he's been doing the job he's been doing defensively. But I think then you have the others on this team. You have Dennis Schroeder, Malik Beasley, Rui Hachimura, Troy Brown Jr., Wenyen Gabriel, Lonnie Walker when he does get minutes. Overall, all these guys have been playing perfect. Dennis Schroeder, I understand that Lakers fans are a lot more pissed at him than they should be at certain times because he's been far more of a positive this season than a negative. I understand that Darvin Ham does kind of have a guard fetish sometimes, and running 3-guard lineups is probably not the best thing to do, but he's straying away from that a little by little. But Dennis Schroeder, 14 points per game, 42% shooting, 5 assists. He's been pretty good. Not the best pick and roll partner for AD. He's definitely somebody that needs to come off the bench and play with those bench guys. He's not the guy that's going to be closing games for you. But again, great production for what you have from him, especially for a guy that you got on the mid-level exception. Malik Beasley, again, 11 points per game and shooting 36% from 3. Lakers fan was in his comments, the worst of the Laker fan base were in his comments saying some things that they shouldn't. But this is what you expect from Malik Beasley. He's not going to be a high percentage guy all the damn time. He's a volume shooter from 3, and you're going to get a decent percentage of those shots to go in as long as he's able to get them up. And 7 attempts on 36% shooting is definitely something to be happy about as the production he's been able to give. And taking him out the starting lineup and putting him on the bench, I think is the best thing to do. And I think hopefully as he does get some time to play with LeBron, he may get some better shot quality. And LeBron has always prioritized and giving guys the best shot in their spots, and I think him getting those shots will probably be best for him. You have guys like Rui Hachimura that got one DNP game and have the entire Lakers fan base yelling at Darvin Ham what the hell he's doing, but 8.2 points per game and 47% shooting, and honestly being really good on the defensive end too. I think it's going to be pretty hard to re-sign him this summer because he will be looking for probably a larger contract and a larger role, something I don't think this Lakers team probably can offer him if they do decide to go the way of re-signing a lot of these guys on this roster. But for right now, he's been doing amazing in the spots that he's been able to get some playing time. You have Troy Brown Jr. that's been shooting electric from deep. I don't know about him sometimes, bro. It's either like extreme horrible miss or a splash with him. There's no in between. There's no it's gonna bounce around or no back rim goes in. No, it's either a splash or it's a horrific miss. But he hasn't been a cone on the defensive end, and he's been great on the offensive end for this team, being a very good shooter for this roster, with the majority of his shots coming from the three-point range and still shooting about 40% from there. But you have guys like Wenyen Gabriel that's been essential as a backup guy for AD, with Mo Bamba being out, being great with his verticality and overall hustle and rebounding, and has always given this team some quality minutes as long as he's on the floor. And he's one of those guys on this roster that you can just know as soon as he comes in, you're going to get effort from him. If there's one thing you know you're going to get from him is effort. But this Laker team kind of just checks off all the boxes. You have your superstars right now, LeBron and AD, that can definitely propel you whenever you need them to. You have your shooters on this roster like a Troy Brown Jr., and a Malik Beasley, and a Lonnie Walker when he does get his time in the lineup to really hit some shots when you do need them to. And then you have your tertiary ball handlers like a D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reaves, and a Dennis Schroeder that doesn't really put LeBron in a position where he always has to have the ball in his hands, and he can focus on also playing both defense and offense. So he doesn't have too much offensive responsibility. He doesn't have to drop 30 points a night. And you have defenders and hustle guys like a Jared Vanderbilt and a Wenyen Gabriel and a Roy Hachimura, guys that have all been doing great this season in that role. So, do I think this Laker team is a contender? By far, yes. It's not even a question. They've been a top 5 team since the trade deadline. Again, that's with missing LeBron and D'Angelo Russell for a good amount of games. And I think if they did play all those games, this team would probably be around, I'd say, 18-3 in that span of time. Games like against the Houston Rockets would not happen. Or if LeBron was completely healthy and this team was locked into the issue, games against the Chicago Bulls would not happen. So right now, in the last 5 games, I do expect this Laker team to probably find their way out of the play-in. I do expect them to probably beat the Clippers and probably knock them into the play-in. But look for this team as a 6th seed to probably be in the conference finals with the way the playoff bracket may match up for them. The West is wide open. There's no real clear contender right now outside of against the Phoenix Suns, and even then, KD's injuries has put him in and out of the lineup a lot. But there, I think, is really the only biggest competition for this Laker team right now. But let me know, guys, in the comment section down below. Do you think this Laker team can be a contender? For me right now, it's a surefire yes. But with that being said, this is FLB. That's my time, and I'm out.